destination in real time. We help people travel. However, nothing does what VidPal does, which is offer customized requests. So this is our landing page of our website, and what you need to take away from this is the blue dots and the red dots. The blue dots are all videos that have been uploaded by users onto our page. If you went to our website, there's most likely a video of the plaza of NYU Poly. So before you got down here, you could see where 15 Metro Tech was precisely. If it wasn't there, what you can do is request that information. So, hey, I need to get down to 15 Metro Tech tonight. Can someone shoot a video of where 15 Metro Tech is exactly? And that will get fulfilled for you. So that's VidPal. We ask that next time you travel with VidPal, and you know before you go.
For those who don't know what WeWork is, we pretty much redesign office spaces to enable people to grow their business through both co-working, community, and collaboration.
So I work with paper cut, and I think you guys
we use PC Client all the time. Yeah, every printer in WeWork, fleet-wide. That's it.
I work for Rackspace, and here's my plug for the evening. Basically, we support infrastructure on AWS, Azure. We actually have our own public cloud as well, which we think is awesome. It's OpenStack based. So if you know what that is, that's like a open source sort of like cloud platform. And then finally, we've got a whole accoutrement of sort of like traditional stuff. So maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, if you were actually creating a startup, one of the first things you might say is we need to be online, have a web presence. One of the first people you might contact is Rackspace to rack your server, get it on the network, and all that fun stuff. But today, we live in a very different age. When you come out and say, hey, I need a web presence, one of the first things you used to have to do is do everything yourself. And this is a little akin to, if I've got like a building that I want to basically be able to use infrastructure services, it's like wiring your own building, putting in your own plumbing, basically putting everything that you need to be able to use that building. And it wasn't really that long ago when that's exactly what you have to do in the IT space. Imagine, you've got a startup idea and some business idea that you want to actually bring to the world. The sort of like overhead that you have to carry, or just the barrier to entry, is getting all that crap done, and that has nothing to do with your idea. It essentially has everything to do with just getting stuff stood up so that you can actually present your idea to the world. And that's essentially what cloud sort of solves for a lot of businesses. The last thing you want to do is go and find something that everybody else is using, because by supply and demand, you're essentially having this idea that you have to pay more just to do it because everybody else is doing it. So there's this concept where Bill Belichick would actually kind of go and shop around for, let's say, defensive linemen. And what he would do is basically use a formation that no one else is using in the NFL. And what this does is this allows him to actually go and pull talent that would be plentiful because no one is playing or actually using the position that he needs for his defensive line. That's sort of a mentality that, as much as you might hate the New England Patriots, it's actually kind of brilliant. This is actually very similar to what's happening in the cloud today.
Right now, apparently a lot of people know what big data means because 70% of the companies out there are using big data. Little data, big data, what does it really mean? Does little data mean 1,000 registered users? Or does it mean 12,000 employees, 400,000 companies, or the number 5 industry in the world and something? So the question is, when we say big data, what do we really mean? Like, does that mean 1,000 records in a database, 1 million records, 1 trillion records? What does that really mean? What that means is that, you may not have any user startup, you may have 500 users, but that doesn't mean you can't model that user. So if you've got 500 users, that's enough data, or that's enough users, and that's not big data, but with 500 users, I can create a model, right? And with that model, then I can go out and find what exactly I want out of other companies.
I work in art management and like art dealing, and I'm also curious to find out how big data can help basically target different emerging art markets.
So one of the things that I recently encountered is that I was working with a startup at Cornell Tech. How many of you have heard of Cornell Tech, right? and they had this brilliant app idea, and they had it all set up and all built up, but they had only built it for iOS, right? So they had got all this VC funding, and all these guys had kept on saying, you need to have an Android application as soon as possible. So the situation that they faced was they actually had to go and find another developer to go and build it from scratch, because they weren't technical. They had their idea, but they had actually kind of made a mistake where they now have to build an individual application for every single app. I'm going to be talking about a couple of tools that you can use, and I will be providing for free, right? That you can use to actually help you get up and running. So this goes far beyond me just telling you, like, come on, build a Windows 8 application. Actually, it's not even Windows 8. Let's build a Windows 10 application, please. No, it's beyond that. It's about how can we make you successful and how can we make you scale. What we're going to talk about is the Microsoft's approach to startup. What are some of the things that Microsoft is doing to make sure that startups are fully represented?
We're a company that works with other organizations and individuals to make them what we call micro-famous, to make them famous in their niche, typically online, so that they can accomplish certain goals. It turned out that sax was David Bowie's first instrument. He played it in the high school band. And what the journalist also eventually found out was that Bowie loved the saxophone. It was a passion of his. It's what got him into music. But no one ever asked him about it. So this journalist called up, Bowie's people and said, I'd like to speak to David Bowie. They were going to hang up on him. He said, about sax playing. And there was a pause. I actually don't know if there was a pause, but I'm assuming that there was a pause. And, they said, yeah, we'll talk to Mr. Bowie. So he got the interview. And he sat down with Bowie. It became a classic piece of rock journalism. It led into all kinds of other things. And this guy got access to David Bowie and formed a relationship with him. So now, what does this have to do with marketing your startup? Well, we're going to get back to that, but a lot of it comes back to competing with power, right? So you guys, you may think you have no competitors. You have competitors. The status quo is your competitor, even if your product is completely original. What you need to do is you need to be on the internet creating content that isn't pitching your products and services, but that's lining up with the message of your products and services, that is informational or educational or entertaining, but in a way that kind of gets your worldview up. And you've got to produce a lot of content because you've got to be there when people find you.